Happy Sunday! Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Great weekend for the Buckeyes. Huge scrimmage yesterday. We're going to break down everything we heard and know. A lot of intel coming out of that. Defense is feisty. The offensive line is getting healthy. A lot of good stuff coming this week. This is the dog days. This is kind of moving week for the team. And then they taper down. Almost time for football, folks. We're getting there pretty close, a few weeks out. And we're going to have it all for you on BuckeyeScoop.com. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we are the #1 Ohio State football podcast, #1 Ohio State football websites. All thanks to you guys. Thank you so much. The numbers are astronomical at this point. Very grateful for the Scoop family. Very grateful for your support. We don't take that for granted. This is a huge show because you guys make it one. So we appreciate you guys. And always our paid forward fund. We signed up some more members today. Excellent fund. All of our super chats and Scoop Ultra memberships go into the fund. They get memberships at BuckeyeScoop.com, the premier Ohio State football message board. So again, we appreciate all of you guys that have been taking care of our troops, our first responders, police officers, paramedics. And if you guys have candidates, BuckeyeScoop@gmail.com. Send them our way. Give them our email. We've signed up some great members. And again, we appreciate you guys taking care of the people that take care of us, as always. So thank you for all of that. This will be a huge show again because you guys make it one. It's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to have you guys. So we appreciate you guys. Get the chat lit up. The chat is going crazy right now. So thank you to all of our regulars, Steely, Schrock, Karis, and Beth. All you guys that are in here, you guys all know who you are. We appreciate you guys. Shout out to our wrenches, Devin, Tora, and Kimmy. Appreciate you guys all. That being said, it's time to get into it. Nevada, week 1 or 1.5, they kind of started in the middle, about 10, 11 days ago. They started practicing. They are through a week. They had a day off today. They had media day. Well, it used to be media days. Now it's just family photo day. The families are all in town. The kids get some time off this evening. They have to be back in the hotel tonight, but they get to go out to dinner with their folks. It's a nice day. It's nice to get your legs back under you because none of these guys had anything to do today other than take photos, get a little time off. It's always nice on Sunday to get out of the hotel. What are your thoughts to the first 10 days of camp and yesterday's scrimmage?
Yeah, well, yesterday's scrimmage, I mean, I think, one of the things that was the most interesting to me when we were talking about, going to the insiders, talking to people that were there, and, the helping technician, who's one of the great insiders of Ohio State, really blessed to have him on our board, had posted a report today and had talked about how Chip Kelly has basically laid down an edict to the wide receivers that they block or they get off the field. And, as much as we've talked about that, we've broken it down many times last year, specifically in the Cotton Bowl, how there were several, long runs that have been, waylaid by lack of outside blocking and lack of effort by some of the guys blocking down the field. Lots of reasons for that. But basically it was just a behavior that for whatever reason had become semi-acceptable. Well, with Chip, it is acceptable no longer. And he is really making that a point of emphasis, really get after the guys. And as a result, you're seeing more wide receivers blocking, down the field, doing stuff. And that doesn't always go over well with the defensive guys. So I'd say that this has probably been as chippy a fall camp as I can remember. I think that goes along with the physicality of the camp, which, again, this isn't just Nevadabuck saying it, or this isn't just helping technicians saying it, or this is just Kirk Barton saying it. I mean, you're hearing it from outsiders that are going, I've never seen a camp this physical. Now, I am not saying that that's a good thing, because I don't know if it's a good thing. It's always a good thing until somebody gets hurt, and then it's a bad thing. And, in a long season, are you going to burn guys out? So I am not sitting there going, wow, this is great. We're having such a physical camp. I'm just stating a fact. To a lot of people from the outside, it's the most physical camp that they've ever seen. And as a result, it's probably the chippiest camp that I've ever seen at Ohio State. There's more jawing and going after each other, and little mini skirmishes and little altercations. And, you can talk about the brotherhood all you want, but, as you know, even old Burt Carton would every now and then mix it up with guys out there in the field. If good, because football's a violent game and tempers are high and guys get after each other, and the Buckeyes are getting after each other. And I think that's that's really been interesting to say it. Now, again, we'll see. As we write the book on this season, we'll say whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. In hindsight, after we see 16 or 17 games. But I can tell you right now, it's physical. It's chippy. Guys are getting after each other. And Chip Kelly's laying it down that if you're not blocking on the outside, then you ain't playing. And that's a new dimension. We've talked about the impact of deception. We talked about the impact of the running quarterback. Well, I'd say the impact of outside blocking and guys getting down the field will be equally as additive to the long runs that Quinshawn and Trey are inevitably going to break off this year. So lots of interesting things going on at Ohio State football camp.
Yeah, I think that the Brotherhood, it's a great marketing ploy, but I don't think it's realistic, especially in camp, because you want to get yours. Like when you're out there, man, if you're Marvin Harrison or you're Jeremiah Smith or you're Denzel Burke or whoever, like the Brotherhood is cute and all, but it's like when you're out there, it's like if I can have a good practice or Vern Golston could have a good practice, like I'm going to put it on him if I can. And again, that's all. I think that mentality, I don't want to say it's eroded a little bit over the years, but I feel like it's back with guys like Davidson, Nick Benosin, Jeremiah. I think that the injection of the South Florida Express kids has helped it, because I know that Carnell's not a talker, but Brandon Innes is a world-class trash talker. JJ doesn't talk much, but he's like the big dragon in Game of Thrones. Like he doesn't have to talk. He just burns your house. He burns your entire city down. Like that's what he does. So, I like Chippy. I like Violent. And honestly, it's Chippy between guys on the same side of the ball too. I mean, that's something that I don't think people ever understand, is like when, defensive players are yelling at each other, or when, offensive players are yelling at each other, like that's not always bad. People that are on the outside looking in think, oh, it's cancerous and it's terrible and whatever. But like, go look at Tom Brady, go look at Peyton Manning. There's clips of those guys getting after the guys on their side of the ball. It's not just yelling at the defensive players. It's yelling at your own guys to get them to raise their level, to get them to get on your level, so to speak. So I don't always think it's a bad thing. There's a lot more of that this year because we're more veteran. Again, like Kyle McCord, who did the best he could, but he was a far below average quarterback for Ohio State, especially given the Ryan Day era, even the Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel era. Like he would have been the worst quarterback we'd had outside of Joe Bowserman in the last 20 years easily. And he was a first year guy. He couldn't really be that big of a leader. Kids liked him, which is fine, but I don't really care if guys like me. I want to be good. I'd rather be good and feared than liked and flaccid, and I feel like that's what our quarterback was last year. Will Howard is not that way. Will Howard is a fantastic leader. He's very, very emotional. He's going to be a dominant force in the first game, and I think that when they truly unleash him against Oregon with the quarterback run, I think it's going to be ferocious. I think that, I talk at length about how much I love the transfer portal. I think the transfer portal might be the greatest thing that's ever happened to college football, because we get to get a guy like Davidson Benosin into the program. And people don't realize how big of a game changer that kid's been, because he is a mouthy kid. He's got a ton of attitude. Every single day, he is a ball of energy. And again, you can't get enough guys that are like that. Guys that you never have to wonder where they are on the practice field. They're never off in outer space or wishing they were playing Call of Duty or wishing they were with some girl somewhere in some dorm. He's about that action every day. He brings it, and I think that it's brought that out in Denzel Burke and Lathan. Then you throw in Caleb Downs, who's he's like a 10-year All-Pro safety in terms of what he does. Like, we're adding guys that aren't just fantastic players, but they're fantastic examples as to how you bring that energy every day. Because again, as fun as it is for us to sit and talk about camp, and as fun as it is for fans to go and stand on the sideline at camp and watch it and get autographs afterwards and stuff, camp sucks for these players. Camp is the most miserable time of the year, and it's not anywhere near as bad as it used to be, because for one, the hotel is much nicer than where we used to stay. Our old hotel used to suck. It was terrible. And for two, there's no 2 days anymore. So camp isn't nearly as big of a drag as it used to be, but it still sucks. Like, getting out of your comfort zone and having to stay in a hotel, which again, they stay at the Hyatt place, which is a pretty nice hotel. Back in the old days, our old hotel sucked. But you don't get the comforts of home. You don't get the girlfriend. You don't get the DoorDash 5 guys every night, like you do when you're at home. So you got to find it from somewhere. And I'm telling you, I used to tell the guys when I would coach them and guys I talked to them, like, look, your practice number 10 has to be better than the defensive end's practice number 10, or defensive end or tackle or cornerback or linebacker or running back or whatever position you're going against, because everybody is kind of going against a position every day. Obviously there's a lot of them that are easy. Receivers go against cornerbacks, offensive tackles go against ends, running backs go against linebackers, tight ends go against linebackers and safeties. Like there's always but you have to always remember, like, whoever you're going against, like, you have to be better than they are, because everyone feels like trash right now. Everybody's beat down, especially the linemen, just because of how physical the trenches are. The receivers and skill guys, their legs are shot at this point. But you got to be better, because again, your body's never going to feel good again until mid-January. Your body's going to feel like trash for the next 6 months, and that's just part of football. But you got to figure out a way to dig it out and scrap it up. And again, that's why a guy like Davidson Igbinosin and the energy he brings, I can't even tell you what the price tag is on something like that. Some of these guys that they get out there, Quinshon Judkins the same way, Trey Henderson, Emeka, they get out there, man, and it is all business. And again, the SFE guys, those South Florida Express guys, they play a lot of football in the winter when Ohio kids literally weren't allowed to in the 7-on-7 circuit, and those things are psycho competitive, and those things are talkative, loud, in South Florida insanity. So those guys, they bring the action when they come to practice, which again, I love that, because again, it's entertaining as can be, for the linemen to hear the chatterboxes going back and forth. And it's always a blast to see that stuff going on. Nevada, who are some of the guys that you've been hearing have stood out thus far through camp?
Well, look, I just want to say one point, to something that you said earlier, which I think is a really an underrated point about teams and seasons and things like that, is leadership. I think people talk about leadership in, relation to different teams, but every team doesn't have good leaders. And, sometimes with a team, like you said, it's a problem because, not everybody can be a leader. Not everybody can just step up. And, Kyle McCord couldn't go in last year and go, oh, I'm the leader of this team now, because he was a first-time quarterback. He never done. Nobody's going to listen to him. Nobody's going to listen to him, and nobody's going to follow him through the breach and, jump up and down and grab the flag and march in the band with Kyle McCord, because he'd never done it before. And, I think this team is blessed with so many guys that have been in the wars, so many guys that have been there. They've done it at Ohio State. They've done it at Mississippi. They've done it at Alabama. They've done it at Kansas State. I mean, they've done it all over the college football world. And these are respected guys. So when Jack Sawyer stands up and says, guys, shut the heck up, we're going to do this, nobody's talking when Jack Sawyer is speaking. When Will Howard says something to the offensive line, those guys are listening because he's got 39 starts under his belt. He's a veteran, and they respect him. And when you have that, man, I'm telling you, it's an intangible. It's a little thing, but to me, I'm always looking for, who are the leaders on the team? Who, those young teams, generally, part of being young, people think about young and they think about, well, they're inexperienced, maybe they're not as physically developed, and that's why they'll struggle. But to me, a lot of that's leadership. A lot of it, when those young teams, when the best players are the young guys, and the veterans are maybe not as good, and so the young kids don't want to listen to them. The older kids don't want to listen to the young kids, and then you kind of get that, those types of situations that are not always the best ones for a football team. But this team's got, we've talked about talent, we've talked about depth, but man, they've got leadership in abundance. But now to answer your question, who have guys that have been standing out? I mean, you named a bunch of them on defense. I mean, Cody Simon and Sonny Styles is becoming the guy that we thought that he would be. And frankly, for my money, and I may be the only person that feels this way, and that's okay. I'm comfortable being on Nevadabuck Island by myself, but Sonny's been a disappointment to me up until now, just because, he's got these these physical gifts that, would put him as a super, super high, combine warrior NFL high draft pick, but I just have not seen it on the field. Well, we're starting to see it on the field. And I think they figured out how to get him in that linebacker spot next to Cody Simon. I think C.J. Hicks is becoming more of a pass rush specialist type of guy. But Sonny's becoming an every down player. And it's fun to see that, man, because, when you add guys like you said, like Caleb Downs, who is NFL ready. Caleb Downs could play in the NFL tomorrow, and he would not look out of place at all. Maybe the best returning defensive player in America, and you throw him onto your defense, and then you add a Sonny Styles in there with a Cody Simon. As good as Steele and Tommy were last year, just from an athleticism standpoint, they're not in the same galaxy as these two guys, and really, really starting to turn it on. So many guys on defense, so deep on defense. Offensively, I'm loving what the offensive line's doing. I love the way those guys are competing. They're hobbled a little bit with this mad cow hoof disease or hoof mouth and whatever disease or whatever it is. But they're competing. They're going out there and they're battling every day. And Will Howard has become the absolute unquestioned leader of the team, and that's fun to see as well. Not that was unexpected to us, but it's just nice to see a guy live up to the hype, step up into that leadership position, and I think he should be a captain.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to shout out Devin, Ohio 7715. He said, "Thank you, Scoop, for giving me and Cujo the opportunity to come on the show. Looking forward to the next." Devin's going to have an expanded role on here. We're going to figure that out, get him on here more because he was great. I know Nevada, you're all about that because we've got a big roster of really, really talented people, and we're always looking for people like Devin who are good. So I'm really excited about what Devin did. He did great. But yeah, Nevada, I agree with what you said. I'm excited for Cody Simon. Cody Simon's a guy that we've been on for 3 years to the point where like people made fun of us because especially me, because I was like, he could be like an AJ Hawk type because he was a 4.5 guy 3 years ago, explosive. His testing numbers were insane. Like if he had been in the NFL Combine 3 years ago, he would have been one of the top 5 testing linebackers, and then he had his shoulders ripped out of socket. So again, major setback, shoulders. I got behind Tommy and Steele. Probably should have played over Steele last year. But Steele's a senior, and it's hard to bench a senior who's a great kid and a good leader and good program guy like Steele. So, but Cody was right there. I think Cody's more physical than Steele. Tommy, I thought was excellent. Tommy's an All-American. Can't say a single bad word about Tommy Eichenberg. We'll miss him. But it's Cody's time to shine. And, if he wants to play football next year, he's going to have a big year, and I think he's going to have a huge year. I think he could be all Big Ten this year. I think he's going to be our most productive player on defense. I think he's got this is his big crack. Sometimes you get these guys that the guy that Cody Simon reminds me of, the more I think about it, because you guys got to understand, I'm an Ohio State historian. I sit around and watch old Woody Hayes documentaries and watch old games and read Ohio State almanacs, and like I love digging into like Ohio State history. But I played with a guy who's very similar to Cody Simon, not the same position, but the same kind of makeup, and that was Will Allen. Will Allen was a guy that didn't start until his senior year. He was behind Mike Doss and Donnie Nicky in 2002. Obviously, he had a huge role in 2002. He's the guy that broke Willis McGahee's knee in half, tore everything in his knee. So Will Allen, it's not like he hadn't played. He was a factor, but I don't think he ever started a game until his senior year. But his senior year is a first-team All-American, dominating play. He was, for some of you guys that might not remember, 20 years ago, he was Malik Hooker in 2003. He had at least one pick six. He had a bunch of interceptions. I want to say he had a pick six against like Bowling Green, or it might have been our only touchdown that game because we were terrible on offense. But Will Allen popped as a senior, got drafted, and played like forever, like 15 years in the National Football League. And he was one of the great players in Ohio State history. And again, if you have one big career year, you can leave here as an All-American. Like there's no reason Cody Simon can't leave here as a first-team All-American, in my opinion. Because that's what Will Allen was. Will Allen stepped right in. He was a leader, was not a captain because we had Will Smith, Tim Anderson, Craig Krenzel, Michael Jenkins as our captains in 2003. But Will easily could have been a captain. He was very vocal. Cody Simon will be a captain. I would mortgage everything I'll ever make the rest of my life on that. Him and Jack Sawyer are locks. I think Trey Henderson and Mecca are locks. But yeah, it'll be interesting because I think Will Howard is right there to be a captain as well. Donnie Jackson. I mean, you've got a lot of guys that are Denzel Burke. I mean, you could probably have 6 to 8 captains, and for once, I wouldn't argue about it. But it's going to be interesting to see how Ryan does that. Because Will Howard's a real interesting one because he's the quarterback, and it always helps if your quarterback is a captain, and he probably should be. But again, this is my opinion. Um, I've heard great things about Sonny. Like I think Sonny's taking over at will over CJ Hicks. CJ's biggest issue is he's not a great. He doesn't process fast enough at linebacker. He thinks too much, and that's devastating. He's a missile. Again, like I think he's a guy that's a blitzer. I think he's the guy that you got to use in to get after the quarterback in pass rush, make him like a known blitzer type guy, make him an edge guy. I think that's where he would really prosper over playing linebacker. But he's still our third best linebacker behind Sonny, and behind Cody Simon. Peyton Pierce is coming on very fast. He is a super processor. He's kind of like a Julian Sain on defense. Julian Sain is maybe the smartest quarterback we've had. I know Craig Krenzel's obviously excellent, but Julian, for a freshman, the way he processes information, like I think he ends up being the backup this year by mid-year. I think they'll keep Devin there. Maybe they'll keep Devin there for the whole year and try to keep him around for another year to have a competition with Julian. But I think Julian is the future of the program. I think the coaches know it. I think that the players know it. And so you got to get that guy. I think you got to get that guy over on the first field with the first team offense, running the offense as opposed to playing scout team this year. I think that's critical. You can't worry about hurting feelings because, again, there's going to be guys that are going to portal out of here. When you have 5 scholarship quarterbacks, you have to live in never land to think they're all going to be here next year. And again, that's fine. This isn't the place to have thin skin when you're a player at Ohio State. And the offensive line, I think, is going to be a key piece this week because there were a lot of practices missed between the ear, foot, and mouth disease that went around the team. Donnie was looked up for something different, and he was held out a little bit. So, these guys got a couple weeks to get together and gel. The left side I'm not worried about because those guys played a lot together last year. They were really good. But figuring out that right guard with Carson Hinsman and Luke Montgomery, Tigra, that's going to be, I think, mission number 1 for Ryan Day and Justin Fry because Carson was out a little bit last week. A bunch of these guys were out because of that virus and how contagious it is. You don't want a guy snapping the ball to the quarterback and then he contracts it and then he throws it to JJ Smith and he gets it. So you can see why I'd keep these guys at home. But it'll be interesting to see these guys get back to full force and get rolling. But again, I don't care because, again, if you keep Jimmy Simmons out for the rest of camp, I'd be fine with it because he's a guy that I don't think we can lose. So for him to not practice for a week, I'm completely good with it. Get him to the season, get him to the games, and away we go. Nevada, any other thoughts? We'll start getting into some super chats. But, yeah, I really like where the team's at after I talked to some people. It's been a very physical camp. Ryan's not playing around this year. I think that he knows what's at stake. This is a good team because there's no, Jim Tressel, who is one of the great football philosophers of all time, always talked about how great teams had to go through some pain before they could fully kind of blossom and bloom. It's kind of like the rose that grew through concrete, like the Tupac poem. And I'm just telling you, like, these guys have been through some pain now with that Georgia lost a couple years, these Michigan losses, the Missouri game, which didn't really matter, but it was still a beatdown. And this town is miserable after you lose a bowl game. So these guys have been through a lot of pain. So I think that it's going to bloom this year in a major way. And Tress talked about that 0-2 team that beat the Miami Hurricanes and how, in 2000, coach gets fired, 7-5. Then Tress shows up, the 1AA guy shows up and they go 7-5 again. So it's like you got 2 straight 7-5 seasons where you're supposed to be the Ohio State. And then that next year, the guys that had been through 2 5-loss seasons at Ohio State, which is horrifically bad, it blooms into a 14-0 national championship season. So I think that the pain is good. I think that sometimes when you go through and you win your bowl game and, hey, we're right there and things don't need to be blown up, things don't need to be fixed. I think that it could be something that can be toxic and poisonous to kind of lull guys into thinking that they can just kind of roll the helmets out there and get it done. Again, I think there was some of that with the 15 team after they won the 14 championship. The 15 team never seemed to click on all cylinders, and a lot of it had to do with Ed Warner being down on the field, being the line coach, and being the OC. Like Urban, who I love to death, screwed that up royally. And then when they finally put him up in the booth, they exploded versus Michigan and Notre Dame, but it's too late because they lost to Michigan State. So the team never seemed right after that. After that 14 year. But what are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, I mean, to me, it raises the issue about Chip Kelly and where Chip Kelly's going to be this year. I know Chip's always been on the sideline. They're trying to work out whether he's going to be on the sideline or whether he's going to be in the booth. And, I mean, I want him in the booth. I know you want him in the booth, but he may
Mm-hmm.
not want to be in the booth. And with this kind of expanded staff and, on-field coaching, I think there's all sorts of new dynamics going on during practice, during the games. But I hope that they have I think Chip's going to be great no matter where he is because he's used to doing it. But like I think Chip Kelly up in the booth looking down on the field in terms of seeing all that would be absolutely unfair. And the good news is he's a brilliant guy, and they're going to practice this, and they're going to figure out what the right thing is. But I remember that Ed Warner situation like it was yesterday, and I was one of the people that was banging the drum really loud, saying he's got to get up in the booth. You got to get him off the sideline, and that offense started purring like magic as soon as he went up there. But I hope we don't have a similar situation this year. I'm confident they'll get that worked out. But that is certainly something I'm going to be watching early on. Is where is Chip Kelly? Is he on the sideline or is he upstairs where he can see better?
Yeah, and I think the only analyst in the game that's actually been in the booth, and I've been down on the field, and I'm telling you, it's two different worlds. Like if you're really trying to know what's going on in the game, being upstairs is the only place to be. But if you have to be down on the field, like Ryan Day doesn't have a choice, obviously. Brian Hartline doesn't have a choice. Carlos Loughlin doesn't have a choice. There's certain guys that have to be down there. James Laurinaitis will be down. They got to be down there to run the show, basically. And I think that you get Jim Knowles and Chip Kelly up there. I think Tim Drevno will likely be upstairs. Justin Frye will be downstairs. I think that'll really help Justin because you need some good eyes up there. I'm telling you, it's so critical that there's good eyes, there's communication, and there's, you got to have balls when you're up there. Because like when I was up there and I'd be talking to Ed Warner through the headset or Jim Bowman, I would tell him exactly what happened. And it's like, you got to say, you can't be half stepping and, oh, well, I think that this is what happens. Like, no, you got to have the balls to say, this is exactly what happened. This is exactly how you need to draw it for the kids so we can fix it, and you got to make sure that you're really clear on that. And again, I'm an MBA guy. I'm a finance guy. Like I'm real particular and I like details and I like to make sure that these guys really know what's going on because you got to help the kids. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about helping the kids be better in game, helping them adjust, helping the kids see what's going on is so critical that I can't stand it when I can tell that there aren't adjustments being made in game from up top. Like I mean, you want to talk about people talk about pet peeves and people not taking their shopping carts back and stuff. Mine is when I can tell that the people upstairs aren't helping the people downstairs because I can tell when I'm watching that game and we keep getting got by the same thing. I'm like, is nobody communicating to these guys what's happening in the game? Because I'll be sitting there watching, it's like, oh, they're running this coverage, or this is what's happening when they're bringing this guy, or whatever. And sometimes I'll just be like, why aren't we fixing it? Again, because if they get you the first time, that's fine. They get you that second time, that's on the coaching staff. First time, okay, they got you. Okay, nice disguise, nice whatever. But you better have an answer for it the next time. And again, it was like when I sat in the stands in 14 and Virginia Tech ran bear defense. And I'm like, oh my God, we're not adjusting at all. Like, what is going on? Because that was something that Urban Meyer was a psychopath about, was bear defense. And as soon as Virginia Tech jumped into bear man, it was like we'd never seen it before. And that you could smell the fear and the panic on the sidelines. I was sitting 3 rows from the bench and I was just like, do I need to jump down there and diagram how you're supposed to run tight zone versus bear defense to help these guys out a little bit? And it's like, never got around to it, but it was it's always something I love, when you can feel the flow of the top and the bottom. And again, that's why it's important that Jim Knowles is up there, because Jim Knowles is a stone cold football coach. Like, he's a guy, no wife, like his kids are grown. I mean, he's living by himself, and all that dude does is study football. So when he's up there, he knows what he sees, and he's been around the block and seen a lot of football. And I just thought like some of the diagrams from upstairs last year. And again, I sat next to Tim Hinton when I was in the box, and Tim's a good guy. And I know some of the other guys that would usually be in the box. So I can usually tell who's up in the box, so I'll see who's down on the sideline. And you have to make sure you have real dudes up there. And Tim Drevno, I think, will be a huge help for Justin Fry upstairs to help get stuff fixed on the offensive line. Again, he's a guy that, if Justin falters, I don't think Justin will. I think Justin will have a good year this year. I think the O-line will be much better because of Chip Kelly's scheme. But in this new capacity where you have basically an assistant who's got better credentials than you have, there's always a thought that guy could be auditioning for your job. Now, it's not like, I'm not saying Tim Drevno is openly auditioning for it, but if he's some whiz bang, guy, and again, it was like when Nick Saban was moving on from offensive coordinators, and then he would promote Lane Kiffin from analyst to OC, or Steve Sarkisian from analyst to OC. Like when you've got the guy already in the building and he already knows your scheme and you like what he does and he has a history with Chip Kelly, like, hey, I mean, like literally we have Chip Kelly's last two offensive line coaches on our staff. So I don't know what on earth we could possibly need more to have more success on the offensive line and in the running game than having those two guys both together, both as guys that can actually coach. So I think it's going to be really good. Nevada, got some super chats. Any other thoughts? And we'll dig into these.
No, when you're talking about adjustments and things, I just remember talking to you during the Cotton Bowl last year, and you're screaming, they're going on the same snap count every time. They're not varying the snap count.
Oh my God.
It's like how can somebody not catch that? Like the Missouri guys were just jumping the snap count every single time, but like nobody upstairs, like even, like, I don't know if those guys were eating nachos or what, updating their resumes or what the heck was going on. But like you think somebody go, hey, why don't we go on a long count one time or something like that? That's the kind of stuff that bugs the heck out of me as well.
Well, it would be like if you're playing poker, if you're watching somebody play poker that doesn't know how to play poker and they're holding the cards backwards and they're looking at like the backside of the card and they're showing their face cards to the whole table and they're just holding it because they don't know. And like that's what it felt like. That's how bad it was. You'd be sitting there like, could maybe you tell them to turn the cards around because that's they don't really know what they're doing. Maybe help them. Maybe they're from Mars or something and they don't know. Like that's what it's like. Like, hey, by the way, you're telling them exactly what you have. You probably shouldn't do, or you're holding your cards down. You're laying your cards on the table when you're not supposed to. Like that's what it was like. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, it's really bad. It's really bad. And again, it doesn't give the kids a chance. That's what drives me crazy. I'm like, we don't change that cadence up, and they're jumping the count. And the bigger thing is that they were timing all their blitzes. So it's like you have Matt Jones who never played center in a game before, which again might not be the best time to unveil that versus a really good Missouri defense. But like as soon as he'd bring his head up, you'd see the blitz come. You could tell like that they were timing everything off the blitz because as soon as he brings his head up from looking between his legs to get the leg from Lincoln Kienholz, then all of a sudden they're blitzing and you don't have enough time to change the protection. So you're stuck. So you're stuck at a bad protection and you're going to give up a pressure that you don't really need to give up because we're stupid. Because we're not doing a double head bob. We're not doing a different cadence. We're just doing it on one every single time. So I was just like, breathe. Just breathe. All right, super chat time. Appreciate you guys. Again, bad. Ryan Coolidge, what is up, my man? Thank you for 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Can't tune in live as much as I'd like, but I always tune in later. Appreciate you, my friend. It's been a tough year, but as always, go Bucks. Michigan sucks. Let's go get a natty. Well, Ryan, I hope whatever is going on, I hope that we help you a little bit every day. Again, I appreciate you being on here, my man. I always love when you guys are on here live chatting. It's always cool to see everybody get together. But yeah, this is going to be, I think Ohio State is really important for a lot of people. I think a lot of people, that's kind of like the thing they hang their hat on is like when things are going up and down in life, like Ohio State's always good. So you always have something on Saturday to look forward to and a season and spring ball and camp. And I think football is a diversion for a lot of people in life. And frankly, we podcast every night because I think that we're a smaller part of that. Because again, when I don't go, people go crazy. People are just like, man, did something happen to you guys? And oh man, I hate when I miss the show and whatever. When we go a little bit early, a little bit late, whatever. So Again, I think it all works together. But yeah, I'm excited for this year. I think we've got a chance to win a natty. I think we have a great chance to win a natty. Nevada, what are your thoughts? Ryan Coolidge, again, it says, miss you guys. We miss you too, my dude. Glad that you're on here tonight. He says he can't tune in live as much as he'd like to, but he always tunes in later. It's been a tough year, but as always, let's go Bucks. Michigan sucks. And I hate Michigan. I really, really hate Michigan. I'm not somebody that like goes and plays kissy poo with all the Michigan fans because I can't stand those guys. I think they're scumbags. But that's just me. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, no, look, the great thing about Ohio State football, like you said, is it's always good. We've been in one of those programs that's been able to avoid prolonged drought, almost to the exclusion. I mean, almost everybody else has gone through it, and we haven't. And like you said, every year's good, but there's every now and then there's those years that are really, really special. Well, this is one of those years. I mean, the talk about Ohio State from people that are going to seeing this team play, and they're comparing them to like some of the great teams. And the great teams have a feel to it. You know it when you see it. And, whatever you're going through, Ryan, I hope you get through it. But just know Ohio State football is going to be, uh, we get more of it this year with the expanded playoff. What a great time to be an Ohio State fan. And I'm so excited. And like I said, I appreciate everybody being here. I know it's the best part of my day talking about. I know it is for Kirk as well. And Ryan, I hope you're feeling better, and I hope everything works out for you, my boy.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. I appreciate you. Yeah, I love doing this show. I love seeing all you guys. Appreciate it. FS Staley, thank you for the deuce. You have a question, Sean. I'm not skipping you, but I'm just gonna go right to FC Staley, and I'll come back to you. Um, Thank you for the deuce again. He says, keep in mind too that Ryan Day OC'd from the sideline. Yeah, I get it. Um, you know, Nevada, I know that Ryan OC'd from the sideline. He didn't have a choice. He's the head coach. He didn't feel like he had a better person for the job to call the plays. So, he was kind of stuck being the OC and the head coach, which I think is too much. And like Jim Tressel didn't call the plays from the sideline. Urban had never called a play in his life. So I think you need to be a head coach and you need a competent OC, and he finally has that with Chip Kelly. But Nevada, what are your thoughts? He says, keep in mind that Day OC from the sideline. Honestly, he was fine, but I don't think it's harder to make adjustments. It's harder to get your mind right. It's harder to script. It's harder to do everything. Because, I mean, if you're going to do an in-game script and try to script out your next 3 or 4 plays for the next drive, when you're upstairs, you've got a big surface big table where you can sit there and, okay, here's a couple plays we haven't hit. You can make notes. You can't do that on sideline. You're like walking around back and forth, and you got to watch the defense, and you got to figure out if you're going to go for it on 4th down, or hey, we're getting ready to punt block, or what. There's like a million things you have to do as a head coach that you can't really be all in on getting your script together. And Ryan did a good job. I mean, our offense has been top 10-ish every single year, 10, 15. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's been pretty good. But I think it's better if you've got a guy upstairs that you really trust. And the beauty of Ryan Day and Chip Kelly is, with Chip being the quarterback coach and Ryan being like the super duper quarterback coach, it's like if Chip goes up in the box, he can talk to Ryan and Ryan can explain to Will Howard exactly what Chip's talking about. So it's not like you have some junior jet guy down there who's trying to explain to the quarterback what's going on. You got a guy who really knows his stuff, and more importantly, speaks the same language, which is, I think that's so critical. I mean, that's something that, as great as Bill O'Brien would have been, and I think he would have been a nice fit, there isn't a better fit in the universe than Chip Kelly, just because they already know the language. He has that uncanny trust that Ryan has in Chip, where he doesn't have to worry about that offense. He doesn't have to worry about any stuff behind behind his back. Again, there's always stuff when you bring in a new OC. Is it going to be exactly what you want? Again, he did it with Mike Yurcich in 2019, and Mike Yurcich was gone after 1 year. So, sometimes you think something's going to work out great, and hey, this guy's got a nice resume, and I think he came from Oklahoma State and sparkling statistics, and then he gets here and it's not what Ryan wants. So it kind of, I don't want to say it's a setback when a guy leaves after 1 year, but it kind of is because you miss. And like, I think Chip Kelly could be here for a long time, maybe as long as Ryan's here, just because he's at the age now where he wants to win a national championship. And um, it's funny, people love bringing up the fact that he's never won a national championship. And I'm like, well, he was in Oregon and he's at UCLA. And it's like, Oregon's never won a national championship. And UCLA, I don't know, they might have won one back in the 70s or something. I don't know. Nevada, you're a UCLA guy. Like, have they ever won a national championship in football? Maybe they did back in the old days, 50
I
years
think
ago.
yeah, I think when Gary Beeman was the quarterback or something like that. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, so it's not like he's been at perennial powerhouse, programs where it's like, oh yeah, it's not like he's coached at Bama or Florida or Texas or schools that have actually won national championships before. He's been as far away from that as possible. So Nevada's at Ohio State. Now there's no excuses because he's got the best weaponry he's ever had in college football. So it'll be exciting to see what he can do. Nevada, any thoughts on that? FS Sailing, at least for really it's 2 deuces, so thanks for the 4. He says, keep in mind that Ryan Day, OC from the sideline. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, also, I mean, I think Chip Kelly was the coach at Oregon when they lost to Auburn, right? When they had Cam Newton, like that.
Yep.
I'm pretty.
Yep.
Was he there? Was he still there? Like, I mean,
Yep.
and that was like as close as you can get. I think they lost 1916 or something.
Yeah.
So it's
Field
not like
goal.
he's been far off from a national championship. But as for the sideline thing, an interesting thing will be, they've talked. Obviously Ryan's been on the sideline, a bunch. Chip Kelly's been almost exclusively on the sideline. One thing, you've got Billy Fessler, who was the OC at Akron last
Mm-hmm.
year, and you could put him up in the box, and he could communicate down. So they've got a lot of options in terms of doing this with this expanded coaching staff, and yeah. So look, if anybody could pull it off on the sideline, it would be Ryan Day and Chip because they've been doing it for so long, and it's such a high level. Um, I want good quality eyes in the box, and I don't believe we had that last year. I think last year our offense wasn't great last year. That was the first time I think we were 38th in offense, or I don't even remember what we ended up, but it wasn't great. And I part of that reason, in my opinion, was we didn't. I mean, who did we have? We had a bunch of kids up in the box, and I think that's a mistake. I think you've got to have guys that are experienced and um, having somebody at least who was an OC in Division I college football last year up there. I mean, that's a start.
Yeah, I agree. And plus they have tablets this year. So they've got the iPads or Surfaces or whatever brand they're going to have down on the field, and they also have the comms. So that'll be interesting because that's something we've never had before. Thank you, Michigan. We finally got iPads after them being out for 20 years or whatever they've been out. We finally got it after Michigan cheated. So I had to throw that in there. Sean Schrock, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being an ultra as well. Kirk, with having iPads on the sidelines, do you think it makes it easier to have Chip on the sideline? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something where you'll be able to get a good photo of what's going on. I'm not sure if they play the whole video of film or if it's just a still photo. That's something I'm not sure on. When I was in the NFL, like we had the old pictures. I don't think there's any reason they shouldn't have the moving video. But that'll be fascinating to see what they have down there. Again, that's something I'm going to research just so I can get a concrete answer for you guys. But in the old days of 2008, they would literally have a little printer on the sideline that would print off like a still photo from like before the snap, 3 seconds after the snap, and then like 5 seconds after. So it's like each play would have like 3 photos. It was like a flip thing, a flip book, so you could kind of see where guys came from and what happened and whatever. So, but yeah, I think that now it's either going to be stills or video. I'll find that out for you guys, but I think it's a huge help because, again, you're not as reliant on the people up top, but it's not always perfect. And plus, you can. The biggest thing is like in real time, you can get information about what's going on in the drive down to those guys because, when you're Chip Kelly or whoever's on the sideline coaching, you don't have a chance unless there's a TV time where you can go over to the tablet and look at it. Which, I don't know if they'll do that or not, but usually I don't know the process of when the video is available. Is it after every drive? Is it after every play? That's what I don't know. Again, in general, you've got your 2 or 3 film people up top, and I'm sure that it has to get processed into the cloud so that it can be put onto the iPad on the sideline. However that works, I don't know. So that'll be fascinating. And again, it'll be fascinating to see if because again, our stadium Wi-Fi sucks. So everybody knows that. So it's like, I hope they're not relying on the Ohio Stadium Wi-Fi. I'm sure that they're not, because it's putrid, but it'll be interesting to see how that all ends up getting done. Because again, I don't know if the plays get downloaded after every snap or if it's after every drive or what it is. Because it would be interesting to see how instantaneously you could get like a 10-second film, clip from. Because you got to remember, every play has two clips. They've got the big side wide view, like the TV copy looking, and then they've got the back view, which is the view that the line coaches really want to see because they can see how guys stepped and whatever. But even with all of that, you still have to be like deadly efficient because you don't have a lot of time on the sideline. If you're off, your defense goes out there and goes 3 and out, you've got like maybe 5 or 6 minutes of real time, and then you're right back out there. So you still got to be making your adjustments and doing the best you can. And plus, all the kids are going to be looking at the tablets too. So it'll be really interesting to see how all of that works. Nevada, any thoughts? Sean asks, with having iPads on the sidelines, do you think it makes it easier to have Chip on the sidelines? Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I just think that the one of the interesting sidelight stories of 2024 is going to be the utilization of technology and who can adopt it the fastest and who can do it the best. Because, as you said, there's never been helmet comms. There's never been, back in your day they were running Polaroids down the wire from the press box down here or something. But I mean, it's completely different now, and it's going to be really interesting to see who can do it. And I know some of these guys are going to be old school, and they're going to be used to doing it a certain way, and sometimes that's not the best when it comes to rapid adoption of something new. And like I said, I'm really going to be interested to see how they're utilizing the technology, how much they're utilizing it, how dependent do they become on it, and who can do it best, because it's a whole new world. But college football, I'm not saying it's going to be better. I'm not saying it's going to be worse, but it's going to be different than we've ever seen before with this playoff, with technology, with the expanded coaching staffs. I mean, now you can have unlimited guys, coaching on the sideline now, and that's different than we've ever had before. What's the impact of that? Who's going to do it best? I think it's going to be fun watching college football this year because lots are changing. A lot of things are the same, but man, a lot of things are going to be different this year for sure.
I agree. It'll be interesting to see who takes the best advantage of it. And again, I think having Chip Kelly and Ryan Day together, two guys that have been in the NFL, they're gonna have a big head start on using tech. Because again, it's something that, like, if you've never been in the NFL, like Brian, and again, not picking on Brian Kelly, this is the first guy I thought of, but he's never been an NFL head coach. Sharon Moore has never coached in the NFL. So the guys that have been in the NFL where they've had the technology, they've had the helmet communication, they've had the Microsoft Surfaces or iPads or whatever tablet they have on the sideline. Like, I think that's a huge edge because you already know what you can do, kind of the timing of it, what you can get done, what you still need to rely on from up top. Again, I think it's huge having a couple of NFL guys on the staff that really know their stuff. Even Tim Drevna, who, again, was the O-line coach for the 49ers, and did a really good job there. I think it's going to be really, really strong to have all these NFL guys on staff. Jay Willie 75, thanks for the deuce. When will Ryan announce Will Howard as the starter? I'd imagine the next time that he's got a media availability. Like, he's not in any hurry, but I mean, next time they have one of these press conferences where he doesn't answer any questions, they'll probably come out and say, we're going to announce Will Howard as the starter. I mean, it's the worst kept secret maybe of all time. It's like when one of these kids have like a video where they announce that they're committing somewhere and then it leaks and then they try to pull it back and wait for the edit to come out. And I'm like, well, you already put the video out, kid, so it's not really much of a secret anymore. But I think, next press conference, he's going to come out and say it. And, it's all a charade at this point. But I'm excited to see what Will Howard does. And, again, Ryan had a choice to get a bunch of different quarterbacks to come here, and they spent a pretty penny to get this kid here. And he looks like he's going to be worth it. But again, that's the thing. I will give credit to Ryan Day and these coaches is that the guys that we've went out and got through NIL have, our hit rate is pretty crazy high right at this point. When you talk about Davison, talk about Quinn, who led to Quinshon Judkins, along with obviously Trey Henderson recruiting him. you talk about Caleb Downs, obviously a Grand Slam, World Series winning home run. Josh Simmons, absolutely fantastic. A kid that wasn't heralded, but he really looks the part and does a good job. I think Seth McLaughlin's going to be nice. He's going to be our starting center day one next to Carson Hinsman, who's going to play right guard. Um, and then Will Kazmarik's got a shot to do something as the backup, the number two tight end. So you've got some really, really nice pieces that we've picked up through the portal. I really haven't missed on many. I mean, we whiffed on Victor Cutler was terrible. Tylen Malone, the jury's out. But otherwise, like we've been pretty spot on with that. Nevada, your thoughts. When will Ryan announce Will Hard as the starter?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's just kind of going through the motions right now. I'm with you. I don't know if it'll be the next time he's up, but it's going to be pretty soon. They're just so you know, they're treating him already like the starter. They're giving him the number one reps. They're giving him the attention. They're giving him control of the team. So even though it hasn't been announced, everybody knows how it's going to go down. But yeah, I would expect sometime in the next 7-10 days we'll get an announcement on that.
Yeah, and again, if he doesn't do the next thing, like you guys don't have to come for me, but it's just like everybody knows he's going to be the starting quarterback. He's been fantastic. He's been a really good leader. And eventually, I think it's better to settle on things. I think that the unfortunate thing is like with the right guard position, and this virus outbreak that they had, it kind of set that competition back a week because you got to see what some of these guys can do when they're healthy. So, but the quarterbacks weren't affected, and they had a lot of good work, and I think Will Hard's going to do absolutely fantastic. Sean Rawlings, what is up, brother? I hope you're having a great night. Thank you for all the service members and to Kirk for keeping the Buckeye blood flowing. I appreciate you so much, Sean. I hope you're doing good. Gonna hit you and Sean up after the show. Sean and Sean, both spelled differently. But I appreciate you, my man. Again, we appreciate our service members. We've got great people. Again, we signed up more paid for members today. Real easy process. Again, we just ask for a military ID, and we get everything set up on BuckeyeScoop.com, and it's really been fantastic to help out our veterans, which is something that's it's really special. And again, I don't think they get thanked enough. I don't know why it's become something that isn't is frowned upon or whatever in this country, but we don't take that for granted on Buckeye Scoop. And I know Nevada, with his background and what his father did and what my father-in-law did, both as veterans, we appreciate you. Kim works for Veterans Affairs, so she deals with it every day. So we've got strong ties to the military, and we appreciate our military very much. Nevada, Sean Rollins says thank you for all to all of the service members, and to Kirk and Nevada for keeping the Buckeye blood flowing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, love our veterans and love our first responders, and yeah, just like I said, it's nice to be able to say thank you and be able to do it publicly like we do on the show, and because like you said, don't hear it enough, can never hear it enough, and so thank you guys and gals for all you guys have done and do for our country every day.
I totally agree. Nevada, got a ton of people in this chat tonight. We appreciate you guys. Going into week two camp, what do you want to hear or see over this next week? This is a big week. A lot of these guys are, a lot of these guys are, a lot of the jobs are clinched. I think it's, Sonny, I think he's got the will linebacker spot locked up at this point. Right guard's kind of the only real question mark. But what do you want to see this week from Ohio State during their camp days leading into what's usually a really big scrimmage this upcoming Saturday?
Yeah, I just want to see the end to this mad cow disease thing that's sweeping through the team, so they can kind of get a little bit of stability on that offensive line, because it's like uh, I think it's been good from a standpoint. Some guys have gotten a chance to get reps they wouldn't ordinarily, but I think what I'd like to see right now is just let's find out who they are, let's get some stability, let's start getting our things going, and would I like to see Will Howard named? Maybe it feels about the right time to do it. The right guard position, like you said, I don't think that's settled science right now. I think they need to see a little bit more before they do it. But I just want to start seeing a little bit more cohesion, getting into that kind of run up to the season. Going to be a long season. We all got to be patient with the team. But I'm just looking for a little bit of stability on both sides of the ball, get some guys healthy, get some guys back out there, and let's start getting into game prep mode.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jay Dizzle 234 Hall of Fame City. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. What advantages does Ohio State have over Oregon when we play? What's our key to success in the game? I think running the ball and playing great defense. I think keeping Dylan Gabriel off the field by running the ball and controlling the clock is huge. Um, I think keeping these guys in a really nice in a keeping them in a really advantageous scenario. Keep your defense in good situations. Again, they're going to be explosive. They got 2 great receivers. They've got Dylan Gabriel. It's going to be at home. The place will be on fire. So I think it's going to be our defense. Pack your defense. Pack your running game. Get the crowd out of the game. Grind them hard. With Quinshawn and Trey, you can throw them in the meat grinder and just pound the rock. And then with Will Howard, I think that the QB run on the road is such a dramatic advantage because when everything breaks down, when it's loud, when things are going wrong, that QB run can just slice their throats. It really can. And I think that Will Howard's feet are going to carry us versus Oregon. I think our defense is going to be tough. And again, you got to remember there are a lot of guys on the team that were maybe not players in the game, but they were at the game. Denzel Burke played. He was a true freshman, played a lot that game. But the senior class, a lot of those guys, they were there when we lost in 21. So it's still in the front of their minds that, hey, these guys came out here and whooped us, put it on us pretty good. And now they get a little bit of payback. So I'm really excited about that. Nevada, in your opinion, what advantages does Ohio State have over Oregon when we play? What's our key to success in that game?
Well, I just think we have so much more depth than they do. I mean, Oregon's a good team. Oregon's a really good team and made some really good additions, but they're just a notch below Ohio State across the board. I mean, they got good wide receivers. We've got great wide receivers. They've got Dylan Gabriel. I like Will Howard better. They've got a good defense. We've got a great defense. We have a better coaching staff. So I just think that we're just a little better than they are at key spots at quarterback, at head coach, defensively. And I think that ultimately is what's going to prevail. And like you said, running the football, we're always going to do that when you've got Quinshawn and Trey and Will Howard. We're going to run the football. We're going to control the clock. We're going to keep the other team off the field, but we're going to be explosive too. So to beat Ohio State this year, it's going to take a mighty effort. Somebody's going to have to play a perfect game. They're going to have to be really fired up. They're going to have to get some breaks, and Ohio State's going to have to be imperfect, even for teams to stay close. So I like our chances in every game this year, including at Autzen.
We actually had a couple of pre-show super chats. I'm going to try to get these up on screen. All right, so we got Alexander Presley. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. What made Cam Newton successful in the NFL as a QB compared to Terrell Pryor? Nevada, I'll let you start with this one.
Well, Cam could stand in the pocket and deliver the ball. He could stand there and have guys hanging off him and throwing off his back foot and throw that deep out. And he was just a better passer than Terrell. And Terrell at the time was not a great passer. You pushed it a little bit. Could throw it for sure, but Cam had a cannon for an arm, and to me, that was a big deal. Also, he was built like a tank, and could run the ball. Terrell was a little bit of a different runner. Was one of the fastest guys that's ever played at Ohio State. I think he still owns the NFL record for longest touchdown run by a quarterback. And I think in a different era, I think a guy like Terrell Pryor would have been embraced. Just he was a little bit ahead of his time in terms of that running quarterback thing, kind of like Troy Smith. And I think the timing just wasn't right for him to do. But Cam could throw the football, no doubt about it. And I think that was the biggest difference to me.
Yeah, I think Cam Newton was a much better thrower than Terrell. And again, I like Terrell. Like this, I'm not Terrell. I'm gonna see Terrell tomorrow at a golf outing, so I can't wait to see him at Troy's. And if you guys want to go to something awesome, Troy's tournament is tomorrow. There's still 2 foursomes left. Golfing. Vince Young's gonna be there. Johnny Manziel, Terrell, Jim Tressel. ton of celebrities. I mean, it really looks like a great time. They actually had a night before party that's going on right now, but I'm not leaving you guys hanging out to dry. I told them, I was like, I got to work. We got a pod, so we're not going to the pre-party, but I'll see those guys tomorrow. It'll be a blast. I'll be there. So if you guys have any interest, go to Troy's Tourney, Google it. And it's a really, really good cause. It's going towards mental health. It's also going towards NIL for offensive linemen. So hello, some of these 5-star guys. You can raise a little bit more money for that. So excited to see Terrell tomorrow. I haven't seen him in a while, but I think Cam was he wasn't as fast as Terrell. There's no way top end in a race you'd ever pick Cam, but Cam was bigger, and I think he was tougher. And I think that the way that they ran him, because Cam, if you go back and watch the way they ran Cam, like most mere mortals would break in half because Auburn ran him to death. And Carolina ran him to death. When he was really effective early in his career, they ran him. And I mean, I'm talking, they handed him the ball, and he's the goal line running back from the 2-yard line, and he's dropping the shoulder on Ray Lewis. And, you can only do that for so long before, you lose your effectiveness to throw. But Cam was a monster. Again, people can say whatever they want about Cam Newton. They say he's dumb or took money to get Auburn or whatever, but he won an NFL MVP. I mean, that's tall cotton when you talk about the greatest of the greats. And you can't always fall into winning an MVP when Peyton Manning's in the league and Tom Brady's in the league and Aaron Rodgers is in the league. And when you're the best quarterback when those guys are all playing, that's impressive. And he was an absolute warrior when he played early in his career, and he was just a juggernaut. So again, they're different players. Terrell wasn't, I'm not questioning his toughness, but he wasn't a sledgehammer like Cam was. Cam wasn't scared of anything. Terrell liked to always cut it to the outside and stuff, and you couldn't snap it to Terrell on the 1-yard line and say, hey, Terrell, go drop the hammer and go get a yard. Like Terrell would always want to dance to the outside, which again, it's fine. Because again, he wasn't built like Cam. Cam was probably, I don't know how much heavier he was, but he was way thicker when you looked at how he was built. And again, the way Auburn used him, like I said, they were trying to win a national title. They weren't looking for his long-term longevity in the league. They're just trying to win, and they did. To his credit, he had 1 year, and his year at Auburn, I think, is the best single season by a quarterback in the history of college football. And again, people say, oh, what about Joe Burrow? And I was like, well, Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and the best offensive line in the country. Like, go look at Cam Newton's skill players from that Auburn team that he won a national championship with, and you'll be like, okay, Kirk, you're right. I stand corrected. Because I don't know if I think he had a late round NFL receiver and Curtis Artis Payne or something as his running back. And so he did have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase to throw to. So again, infrastructure is fun. Matt Crawford, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. How come I see nobody referencing the 99 Texas OU game when discussing advantages of the Stallion scandal? It's close enough to sign stealing. It shows how devastatingly effective it could be. Nevada, I don't know anything about the 99 Texas OU game. Do you?
Man, I'm trying to think about that. I was just going to say, I can't think of anything. Nothing springs to mind right now. And I'm kind of a college football historian myself, but yeah, nothing's springing right to mind.
Yeah, and like I said, if I'll look that one up too, because again, I don't know what you're talking about. And again, I'm not saying you're not right. I'm just saying I don't know. And again, I've got a pretty good history, but I was in a 9th grader in high school in '99, so I apologize for not being more well versed on that game. But I'll look it up because it was probably something with Mike Leach, because I think he was the coordinator at OU then. So I'll look.
Was that the Mike Leach?
I know what you're gonna say, like the fake play sheet or whatever.
The fake play sheet.
I think that was the one because they interviewed Tom Herman, because I think he was a GA at Texas, and Mike Leach made up like a fake script of like the first 10 plays, and it was like, here are our first 10 plays. Our first play is a rollout to the left, and our second play is a run to the right, and then our third play is a quarterback draw or whatever. And so Texas was like making all of their calls off of this fake call sheet that Mike Leach accidentally like left by the Texas bench, and one of the little GAs or something found it, and they go running over to the defensive coordinator and say, hey, oh my God, we got their script. We got their first 10 plays. And so they looked at it, and it looked legit. Because, you got to remember, Mike Mike Leach is a genius. He's a counter espionage, counter terrorism kind of guy. So he's gonna make it look exactly like a script. And hey, this is the play that they opened with last week, and this is the play they opened with. This looks like the flow of what they like to do. So it was enough for like the DC was like, well, we're gonna call the plays, and then like I think Oklahoma was up like 21-0 after the first 3 drives or something crazy, and so clearly we were had. I think I don't remember, but I think maybe Mike Leach called the first play like it was the actual play on the fake script or something like that. Like he really like went in on this thing. They called like toss student body right or whatever, and like they tossed the ball, and the D coordinator's like, oh my god, this really is the script. Let's call the plays, and then like I think it was something like that where he literally like punted. He gave up the first play to make him think that the script was accurate when it really wasn't. So I don't know, but I'll look that one up. Got a couple more super chats. Oh my God, Brian, you're hilarious. This is always great. Brian, thanks for the 10. Michigan put the best EC in the NFL last season. Now he's a head coach. JJ looks like the best quarterback of the draft. You obviously didn't see Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams looks unbelievable. Hutchinson is top DN. It looks like they were just loaded signs or no signs. Yeah, they were. Because before the signs, they were completely worthless. And Hutchinson was trash before we got the signs stolen. Matt Crawford, thank you for the 5. Hey, Kirk, sent in a SC before you get all rolling. Can you dig it up? I did. I just did that, so I appreciate you. Okay, so Matt Crawford also throws in another 5. He says it's the Mike Leach fake scripted play sheet. Yes, so we were on point. Because I think that they did a game day thing on it where they talked about Mike Leach making up a play sheet and leaving it on the sideline, and that is genius. Because again, there are some nefarious coaches. Brian Laguerre, JJ in camp had 40 touchdowns and 2 picks, which again, he's not running against the ones, so I guess with the second team, he's got 40, which is great. In the game, he had 2 TDs and 200s. Nevada, what do you think of your boy JJ? Is he going to go in the Hall of Fame after the first preseason game or no?
No, he played good yesterday. I mean, he played good. Now he played against guys that are never going to play in the NFL. So, but he did. I mean, I look, I whenever I have these discussions, I try to be fair. Okay, I'm just saying I don't see it with JJ McCarthy. He's never demonstrated that he could throw the ball down the field. I am not convinced by a game against third and fourth string guys that are going to be cut on Tuesday that he's going to be any good. Caleb Williams did impress me, though. Caleb Williams was very impressive for the Bears. They might have a good one there. I mean, we'll see. But JJ did good. He did. His first interception was unfortunate and kind of JJ esque. But no, the rest of his game he was good. But I still think he's going to struggle mightily. And rooting against JJ McCarthy is going to be a new sport for me this year. So I get to root for Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. I get to root for my Browns. I obviously root hard for my Packers, and I get to root against JJ McCarthy. So every Sunday is going to be very, very busy for me.
Yeah, Caleb Williams was 4 for 7 for 95 yards with a 13-yard run that converted a first down. And the funny thing was, I want to say that at least two of the 3 incompletions were drops that were literally right in, the one was right in Cole Kmet's hands. Like, I mean, just like it was like he had like a deflector shield on. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I mean, every ball he threw, I mean, he threw some missiles. And I was like, geez. And again, maybe I don't watch enough Caleb Williams. I know him in the Heisman, whatever. I know that he's weird and he paints his toenails and he has a purse and stuff. But when I watch that dude play, and again, he's not exactly like, it's not like he was dealt Boardwalk and Park Place with the infrastructure he has. Because again, I am obsessed with quarterback infrastructure, and it's like he doesn't have Baltic. He's got Keenan Allen, who's one of the best receivers who's ever lived. He's got DJ Moore to sign a $150 million contract. He's got Cole Kmet, who's probably a top 10 tight end. He's got DeAndre Swift, who's a former second-round running back, really, really good player. And they took Roma Duze as like the 9th overall pick. So they've got the best trio of wide receivers in the National Football League. It's not even close, in my opinion. And then, and that's what I said about JJ. I was like, look, if JJ starts for Minnesota, I think he's going to do great because he's got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. He's got two fit. I mean, Justin Jefferson's arguably the best receiver in the entire league. So he gets open on everybody. And Jordan Addison is like a guy that could be a Pro Bowler this year. because I think that Justin Jefferson's going to get double teamed on every play. Like Justin Jefferson is really that dude. So, again, it's not like complete insanity. And then on top of that, he's got Hawkinson, who's coming back from a knee injury, but Hawkinson's maybe the best tight end in the NFL now. Shredded his knee last year, but before that, he would have blown everybody away. And Kelsey's getting older, and I know Kittle's good and Laporta's good in Detroit, but I mean Hawkinson was killing it last year. So when your three guys are, Justin Jefferson, who I think is the best receiver in the league right now, and then you've got Jordan Addison, and then you've got Hawkinson, like that's pretty good. And then your head coach and play caller is a quarterback, Kevin O'Connell. Like it's not like getting drafted to the 99 Browns. Where you're throwing to Kevin Johnson and handing it to Eric Rhett and whatever other trash heaps they could get out of the expansion draft. So that's just what I'm saying. Brian, you're funny, man. Alec Orgy is Cam Newton 2.0. There's no chance. Cam had more talent in his big toe than Alex Orgy has in his entire body. JJ, here you go. JJ was 11 for 17-yard average and had 20 yards rushing. Yeah, but it was against the twos. Like Caleb Williams was better than that, and Caleb only played 2 drives. But I thought Caleb was really good. And again, I'm not like some Caleb Williams fanboy, but he's gonna be on all my fantasy teams this year. I can tell you that for sure, because he looked really good in that game. And again, when you've got receivers, and plus they'll be losing a lot, I think that he's gonna have huge numbers and could maybe make the Pro Bowl this year. All right, Nevada, good show. We can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just I'm as a final parting gift to everybody that came to this, I'm going to give them Dagestan Poppy's pick for this next upcoming weekend. You don't even have to go to him. You don't even have to DM him. You don't have to wait until before the thing to see it. I'm going to give you the pick right now. So if you're a gambler and you're interested in making money, UFC 305 coming up this weekend. Carlos Prates, Prates. If you're interested in making money, you probably might want to jump on that one. If you go to Dagestan Poppy on Twitter, you can see his track record. I literally think he's hit like 17 of his last 18 major bets. It's some crazy thing. But Carlos Prates this weekend, if you like money, take advantage of that. And that is my gift to you guys. Buckeye fans and not Buckeye fans, you all get it here at the Buckeye Scoop podcast. So I'll see you tomorrow night.
And if you hate money, you can always bet on soccer. So.
Or bet on the other guy. The guy that's
bet on the 5'1" girl versus the 5'7" girl.
Exactly.
They have equal odds. I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. So shout out to our girl Luciano, because she was awesome. All right, Nevada, any other final thoughts? We'll wrap the show up.
No, just great scrimmage, terrific fall camp so far, and one day closer to kicking it off. So let's get it on.
Let's get it. Thank you so much for being a part of the Scoop family. Thank you for another great show. Appreciate you guys as always. I hope you guys had a great time tonight. If you guys enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. We'll be right back at it again on Monday. Another huge show because you guys made it once, so thank you. If you guys feel especially fantastic, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts along with Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review. It makes it easier for other Ohio State fans to find the number 1 rated Ohio State podcast. So we appreciate you guys so much for all that you guys do. As always, again, you guys are so awesome. The Scoop family is amazing. Appreciate all your support. Shout out to Devin and Cujo for being on the show. They were awesome. We're going to have him back on soon. Really did a great job. So really excited about Devin and his future with Buckeye Scoop. With that being said, as always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great night. Go Bucks.